London erupted on a seemingly peaceful morning when Buckingham Palace unexpectedly issued a shocking announcement. A DNA test has confirmed that King Charles III is the biological father of Prince Harry. A short statement, yet its aftershocks rippled instantly across global headlines, shaking the very foundation of the British monarchy and igniting social media with millions of comments, shares, and stunned reactions. A mystery thought to be buried deep beneath layers of royal protocol has now resurfaced like a ticking time bomb, not only altering the standing of one man, but also reshaping how the public views the past, present, and future of the kingdom. For more than 2 decades, the question, who is Prince Harry's real father, has remained the most glaring crack in the seemingly flawless image of the royal family. A side-by-side photo comparing Harry and former cavalry officer James Hewitt, once a lover of Princess Diana, became a symbol of suspicion. His red hair, chiseled features, and eyes distinct from those of his father and brother only fueled the endless whispers. Harry, despite consistently denying the rumors, has lived under the heavy shadow of a cruel hypothesis that he is the result of an extramarital affair, that his royal blood is merely a facade, and that idea, though invisible, severed his full acceptance in the hearts of many Britons. But now, all rumors have been crushed by an irrefutable DNA result. Science has spoken. The truth has been proven. King Charles III, the man once forced into silence, the man who once cast a cold gaze upon his own son, filled with doubt, is indeed Harry's legal, biological father. This is no longer speculation. This is the full stop to a drawn-out narrative, but also the opening punctuation for a series of new, painful questions. Because one truth, however vindicating, cannot automatically heal old wounds. The relationship between Harry and his father, between Harry and the royal family, has long since frayed for reasons beyond paternity rumors. It has been eroded by emotional distance, prolonged psychological wounds, explosive interviews, and, above all, by Harry's choice to leave the royal family and start an independent life in the United States with Meghan Markle. So now the question stands, can a DNA result become the glue that mends pieces long broken? Can Harry, the man once deemed an outsider within his own family, be fully embraced as a true prince, a legitimate son of the throne? The story doesn't end there. Another chilling truth remains. Why did this rumor last until today? Who benefited from it? Who quietly sowed the seeds of doubt into the public's mind for over 20 years? Could the royal family itself have exploited this ambiguity as a political tool, a smokescreen to mask internal conflicts too sensitive to voice? Or was it the work of the tabloid press, sensationalist media, and a society all too eager to believe the worst when it concerns the powerful? And you, the viewer, following this story, what do you think? Could this be a historical turning point? A truth that might shift public perception of Prince Harry and restore the honor long clouded by suspicion? Leave your comment below. Type 1 if you believe this DNA result is a fair and timely validation, or 0 if you think the rumors and doubts will persist, regardless of how clear the truth is. And as we place our hands over our hearts to feel the sincere rhythm of justice, let us not forget one thing: behind the veneer of power and the weight of the crown is a human being, a child who once cried with reddened eyes, unable to understand why people looked at him as if he didn't belong, a man who had to leave his homeland to find his rightful identity in a world steeped in prejudice. And now, as the light of truth finally shines upon him, can he live as someone truly loved? Stay with us as we continue to follow this story, where every new chapter brings with it mysteries yet to be unraveled. If Princess Diana's death was an unhealable wound for Britain, then the mysteries surrounding Prince Harry's true paternity have been a fracture never fully sealed within the House of Windsor. No one could have predicted that, after decades, a rumor once deemed absurd would have the power to shake the very throne of England. And at the center of this storm of suspicion, one name continues to send a chill through the palace whenever it is mentioned: James Hewitt. Everything began with a seemingly harmless detail that was all too easy to catch the public eye: Prince Harry's striking red hair. In a royal family traditionally marked by shades of brown, blonde, and especially the trademark thinning hair of King Charles III, the appearance of a child with fiery red hair and rugged, sharp features stirred immediate whispers across the UK. As Harry grew up, the differences only became more pronounced: angular facial structure, a strong gait, and eyes that bore little resemblance to those of the heir to the throne. While William looked like a perfect replica of Charles, Harry seemed to come from another planet. And so, the rumors began to swirl. Could it be that Prince Harry was not King Charles's biological son? One name, and only one, was repeated in tabloids and living rooms alike: James Hewitt, a cavalry officer, tall, handsome, and most notably, also a redhead. That eerie coincidence poured fuel on the fire. And when it came to light that Diana had once had an affair with this very man, all limits of doubt were shattered. Numerous tabloids went as far as comparing photos of Hewitt and Harry in their 20s, placing them side by side like a visual Ney test, and the conclusion passed from mouth to mouth: the resemblance is uncanny. The love between Diana and James Hewitt was no longer a locked-away secret. They met in 1986 when Hewitt was invited to be Diana's riding instructor. Long training sessions in the English countryside quickly turned into secret rendezvous, where a woman abandoned in marriage found tenderness in another man. The key issue, however, was this: Prince Harry was born in 1984, 2 years before Diana's relationship with Hewitt began. And this became a crucial point, used by both Diana and James as proof to deny all accusations. In the explosive 1995 Panorama interview, Diana confronted the question about Harry's biological father head-on. With teary but determined eyes, she declared, "I can confirm that my relationship with James Hewitt started after Harry was born. Those rumors are completely untrue." Hewitt would later echo the same in multiple press interviews, stressing that he was not Harry's father and that dragging him into this narrative only caused more harm. But still, were there denials enough to silence a storm of suspicion that had already embedded itself into collective memory? In a system where royal lineage is paramount, even the smallest crack in bloodline legitimacy can threaten the stability of an entire monarchy. And people began to wonder, did Diana truly tell the whole truth? Or did she choose to protect her son with a maternal lie? The coincidences in hair color, appearance, and bearing between Harry and James Hewitt remain a thorn in the side of skeptics. Despite repeated and firm denials from those involved, public opinion has never fully accepted the official explanation. They want more: a DNA test, a late-life confession, or at the very least, a sign that the royal family's greatest secret is finally coming to light. And when those long-dormant rumors suddenly resurfaced amid current tensions within the royal household, from Harry's visible coldness toward his father to his decision to leave the royal fold with Meghan Markle, the old question returned, this time with heavier weight. Could the paternity doubt be the key to decoding all these conflicts? For decades, whispers in the tabloid corridors have echoed the same seemingly harmless, yet psychologically brutal question. Is Harry really King Charles's son, though denied by the royal family, dismissed by those involved as nonsense? The rumor has persisted stubbornly, like an invisible thorn embedded in the public consciousness, and more importantly, in Prince Harry's own subconscious. For a child raised under the blinding lights of royalty, comparison is inevitable. William, the heir apparent, constantly praised as his father's perfect image, from his high forehead and refined nose to his regal demeanor, and Harry with flaming red hair, chiseled features, and dark brown eyes that seemed to belong to another bloodline, not the Windsor one the public had grown so accustomed to. With every group photo, every public appearance, these unconscious comparisons form silently like a shadowy indictment. And no one, not even Harry, could completely escape it. The cruelty lies in the fact that when a rumor is repeated often enough, it begins to be seen as a possibility, even a truth. For Harry, this wasn't just a baseless rumor. It was an invisible fracture that steadily widened between him and his royal identity. It was the feeling of being positioned outside the family portrait, as if he were an outsider who'd wandered into Buckingham Palace by mistake. It was the quiet doubt creeping in each time he saw William exalted as the ideal successor, while he himself was labeled the rebellious one, the outlier, oh boy. And then comes the biggest, most painful question: did Harry himself ever secretly doubt his own origins? Were there nights, long and lonely, when he looked into the mirror and asked, "Who am I? Am I truly the flesh and blood of Charles? Or merely the shadow born from a mistake in my mother's past?" This is no longer a matter for the tabloids. This is a silent tragedy, a burden a man carries for life simply because he doesn't look like his father. Public opinion can be cruel, and the media can fabricate, but human emotion cannot be forged. So is all of this merely a product of collective imagination? Or is it truly a psychological scar that forever prevents Harry from standing tall as a true prince? That question not only redefines Harry's position within the royal family, but it cuts deep into the fragile nature of a misplaced identity. Right where the first smiles once blossomed, where perfect family portraits were taken, and where hands were held for the media's lenses, a fracture had quietly begun. From there, the marriage between Princess Diana and Prince Charles was no longer a symbol of royal love, but a tragic play of torment, betrayal, and disintegration under the flash of cameras. The early romance was quickly replaced by doubt, distance, and a truth no one in the royal family wanted to admit: they never truly belonged to each other. Previously, we saw how the rumors surrounding Prince Harry's origins gradually broke the silence within King Charles. But to fully understand why such doubts carried so much destructive weight, we must look back to the beginning, the so-called fairy tale marriage between Diana Spencer and Prince Charles. Because it was within that cold and chaotic married life that countless unresolved tensions simmered, waiting to erupt, leaving deep wounds not only in the two protagonists, but etching unerasable scars on the souls of two innocent children, William and Harry. Diana entered royal life at the age of just 20, a young woman full of hope and dreams, believing she would live in a castle with her prince, like the fairy tales she had read as a child. But the fairy tale quickly turned into a nightmare. From the very beginning, she felt the coldness, even cruelty in her relationship with her husband. Charles, the one who should have been her emotional anchor, was instead obsessed with a name that never left his heart: Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana bitterly once said, "There were three of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Camilla's shadow never left their bedroom. And because of that, Diana increasingly felt isolated in the glittering yet lonely world of royalty. She struggled under media scrutiny, the Queen's strict expectations, the emotional distance from her husband, and the silent political currents of the palace for which a normal girl like her had never been prepared. In that endless loneliness, Diana sought comfort elsewhere, just as Charles did. Infidelity was no longer a taboo in their lives, but gradually became a way for both to escape their suffocating and painful reality. Then, when William was born in 1982, the public believed that the firstborn child would help heal the rift between the couple. But no, that was only temporary. When Harry was born in 1984, Diana and Charles's marriage was all but broken. Their coldness could no longer be hidden. Separate official visits, awkward gestures in front of cameras, interviews with leaked inside sources all painted a gloomy portrait of a royal family quietly falling apart. The most heartbreaking part is this: the two young boys, William and Harry, had to witness the entire nightmare. William, with his calm and mature demeanor, seemed to be loved more by Charles, perhaps because he bore features similar to his father in the eyes, the face, the mannerisms. Harry, with his striking red hair and more rebellious personality, was often left behind in father-son moments. People began to ask, was Charles truly more distant with Harry than William? Or was that simply how Harry felt, due to the lack of connection in his turbulent childhood? Whatever the case, one fact remains undeniable: the broken marriage between Charles and Diana not only shattered the royal family's image in the public eye, but also sowed the seeds of psychological rifts within the hearts of the two royal children. And while William learned to remain silent, to brace himself as the model heir, Harry, with a heart full of pain and doubt, carried the question of his identity throughout his entire journey to adulthood. A question never officially answered, but one that public opinion never stopped debating. The marriage once painted as a royal dream was now nothing more than an irreparable fracture. After years torn between duty and emotion, public expectation and personal yearning, between the isolation of palace walls and whispers behind royal gates, the final glamorous mask fell. In '94, in a shocking documentary, Prince Charles publicly admitted to the media that he had committed adultery while still married to Princess Diana. And as if that wasn't humiliating enough, just 1 year later, Diana appeared in the now iconic Panorama interview on BBC. With cold eyes and a heartbreakingly calm voice, she not only confirmed the depth of their marital collapse, but also delivered the statement that left Britain in stunned silence. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. That interview became a turning point. It was not only the first time a senior member of the British royal family exposed their marital issues on national television, but also the moment Diana shattered every unspoken rule of Buckingham Palace. From then on, the public no longer saw her marriage to Charles as a romantic tragedy, but as a prolonged battle of power, emotion, and reputation lasting a decade. And then, the inevitable came in August 1996. Diana and Charles officially divorced. A signed document closed the chapter that began with a grand wedding at St. Paul's Cathedral in 1981, but at the same time, it opened the door to countless unanswered questions. One of the most haunting questions over the decades has been about the true origins of Prince Harry. Was the long-lasting distance between Diana and Charles the catalyst for the simmering suspicions over royal bloodlines? Or was it all just the product of a scandal-hungry media, chasing gossip as if it were sustenance, because it was precisely during that frozen period in their marriage that Harry was born? Many began to question the child's striking red hair, so different from both parents. Combined with whispers of Diana's relationship with Officer James Hewitt, the public began to piece the fragments together as if inspecting every grain in the painting of a historic deception. So what is the truth? Are these doubts merely the toxic consequence of a never-ending media war? Or is there, hidden beneath it all, a secret kept so long that those involved no longer dare to look back? Whatever the answer, the Panorama interview in 1995 was not just the last chapter of a marriage, it was the spark that ignited the wave of suspicion, one that would eventually wash over the next generation of the British royal family. The story of the rift between Diana and Prince Charles, which became irreparable after the Panorama interview in 1995 and Charles' shocking admission of infidelity a year prior, not only shook all of Britain, but also left echoes that have lingered for decades. Public opinion has never ceased to ask, did the emotional distance between the two drive Diana into the arms of another man to fill the void in her soul? And more importantly, were those men merely companions in moments of despair, or links in the chain that fueled the explosion of rumors surrounding Prince Harry's true parentage? James Hewitt was once seen as one of the rare safe havens for Diana during the stormiest years of her life. A polished and passionate cavalry officer, Hewitt entered the princess's life not with the glamour of royalty, but with the patience to listen and arms ready to hold a woman breaking from within. At a time when Diana's marriage teetered on the brink of collapse, Hewitt became the only one who made her feel loved and needed, but what seemed to be a lifeline ultimately turned into a sharp, cold blade. Because in the end, Hewitt betrayed Diana not with love for someone else, but by laying their secret affair bare on the front pages of the tabloids. In a controversial memoir, Hewitt not only detailed their relationship, but also subtly hinted at the timeline, casting deep doubt in the public's mind about Prince Harry's true lineage. It was the uncanny resemblance between Hewitt and Harry, from the red hair, tall build, to the chiseled features that fanned the flames of suspicion. Although Diana repeatedly asserted that her relationship with Hewitt began only after Harry was born, to a public already steered by media narratives, reason was quickly replaced by imagination. And so, every time Hewitt appeared on television or mentioned Diana, the whispers of the royal love child resurfaced once again. But Hewitt was not the only man to pass through the bleeding heart of the Princess of Wales. After that failed affair, Diana found solace and serenity in the presence of Hasnat Khan, a Pakistani heart surgeon. In stark contrast to Hewitt's publicity and the surrounding speculation, Khan was discreet, composed, and deeply intellectual. Diana once referred to him as the true love of my life. She tried to adapt to his world, even secretly visiting his family in Lahore. But cultural differences and social prejudice ultimately kept their love from blossoming. Following her breakup with Khan, Diana was suddenly swept into the arms of Dodi Fayed, a relationship many believe stemmed more from loneliness than genuine affection. Yet it was this relationship with Dodi, a Muslim man and son of billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed, that threw Diana into the eye of the media storm. They were hunted every step they took, every moment they shared. Every glance, every touch, every smile of hers was dissected under the lenses of hundreds of paparazzi, and as an inevitable consequence, the whispers surrounding Harry's parentage were reignited. Had Diana ever loved someone deeply enough to cross the boundaries of royal duty and status? The more she was cornered, the more Diana yearned for freedom. She had once shared a close bond with Barry Manicky, a devoted royal bodyguard, believed by many to have genuinely loved her. His sudden death in a motorcycle accident in 1987 sparked suspicion, even theories that it was a silencing act by forces who didn't want certain secrets to be exposed. And then there was Will Carling, a famous rugby player whom Diana was rumored to have been involved with during the darkest period of her marriage to Charles. All these men, whether truly significant or fleeting presences, became rich material for the media to craft endless conspiracy theories. The press spared no detail, not even a passing glance or Diana's brief absence from royal events. Each relationship was sensationalized into tabloid fodder, blown up with provocative headlines. In their thirst for headlines and spectacle, the media played no small role in distorting Diana's image and shrouding Prince Harry's true origins in a thick fog. And so the question raised earlier rings louder than ever. Was it really the emotional distance between Diana and Charles that birthed these rumors? Or was it the cruelty of the media that inflated everything into a storm with no way out? But if the story of Diana and James Hewitt was already enough to stir public frenzy about Prince Harry's real identity, then names like Barry Manicky and Mark Dyer only poured more fuel onto the fire, turning a vague rumor into an uncontrollable tempest. Barry Manicky, Diana's former bodyguard, was once described by the princess herself as the only one who made me feel protected, listened to, and truly loved. Their closeness went beyond duty and protocol. Rare photographs, exchanged glances, and especially Manicky's mysterious death in 1987 opened a maze of suspicions. Some believed he was taken out for knowing too much, or perhaps for daring to cross the line with a senior royal family member. Then there was Mark Dyer, a less publicly known figure, but someone so close to Harry that he was once dubbed his second father. It was this intimacy, coupled with the oddly similar facial features between Dyer and Harry, that led the public to ask dangerous questions. Could Mark Dyer be the real biological father? Was their bond merely a deep friendship, or did it mask a truth hidden for decades? Of course, both hypotheses lack concrete evidence. No DNA test has ever been made public, and no official acknowledgement has ever come from the royal family. But in a context where the walls of the palace are increasingly cracking due to scandals and internal divisions, that silence only deepens public suspicion. They pose an open-ended question. Was it Diana's series of painful relationships and yearning for love that contributed to the rumors about Harry's lineage? Or was it the media that ignited the flame, exploiting every tear of the princess to weave an endless story, a story that to this day still sends the world spinning inside a maze of secrets that have never been confirmed? But if the rumors surrounding Prince Harry's lineage once lingered like a faint mist in the royal court, then Princess Diana's fateful death in 1997 turned that mist into a smoldering fire. The question once whispered in the shadows now echoed in every news bulletin, every conversation, every suspicious glance. who is truly Prince Harry's biological father. On the night of August 31st, 1997, glamorous Paris became the stage for one of the most shocking tragedies of the century. Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed hurriedly left the Ritz Hotel under intense pursuit from paparazzi. The Mercedes sped through brightly lit streets, entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, and never came out again. The driver, Henri Paul, was confirmed to have consumed alcohol and sedatives before getting behind the wheel. The car slammed into a concrete pillar at over 100 km/h. Diana was seriously injured and died hours later in the hospital, leaving behind an unfillable void in the hearts of Britain and the world. Her death was not merely a tragic traffic accident. It was the culmination of a life torn apart by the media, pulled in different directions by the royal family, and tormented by secrets. The public was outraged, angry, and heartbroken. They flooded Kensington Palace with hundreds of thousands of bouquets, turning the palace gates into a sea of white flowers. They blamed the paparazzi, the media, and many the British royal family itself for failing to protect Diana, for leaving her alone in a battle against a cold and powerful machine. And then they began to ask questions. Why did Diana die precisely at the moment she seemed to be finding happiness with Dodi Al-Fayed? Why did witnesses say the car was being closely followed by multiple motorcycles and professional cameramen? Why did emergency responders take so long to get her to the hospital? And most of all, was there someone who wanted Diana to be silent forever? These suspicions, though never proven, created an atmosphere thick with conspiracy theories. Amid that wave, the name Barry Manicky once again surfaced, the princess's close bodyguard, whom she once mentioned with sorrowful eyes in a BBC interview. The man who was said to have been reassigned then died in a traffic accident shortly thereafter because he was too close to the princess. The public began to connect the dots. They compared Harry's eyes, smile, and gait with Manicky's. They dug up blurry photos, old videos. And when no truth was confirmed, their imagination began to fill in the blanks. It didn't stop there. Diana's death unintentionally brought another name into the spotlight, Mark Dyer, a former cavalry officer and also Harry's close mentor in the years following his mother's death. The bond between Dyer and Harry was so close that he was once called the second father. To a public starving for truth, every tender gesture from Dyer toward Harry became an implied piece of evidence. Rumors reignited. Could Dyer be the biological father? Notably, those rumors were not new. They had existed since Harry was young, passed along the corridors of tabloid newsrooms, and flared up whenever opportunity struck. But it was Diana's death that turned whispers into shouts in the public square. When Diana was no longer there to speak out, to deny or confirm anything, that silence only further stoked the fire of doubt. And the royal family, as usual, chose to remain silent. They didn't sue, didn't explain, didn't verify. They let the public writhe in grief and hunger for information, leaving behind the perfect space for conspiracy theories to flourish. Meanwhile, Queen Elizabeth II's speech, considered touching and timely, still wasn't enough to extinguish the initial wave of criticism. The nation had expected the royal family to appear immediately, to offer words of comfort and share the people's pain. But they remained silent for nearly a week. No mourning flag was flown at Buckingham Palace until public pressure became overwhelming. And when the Queen finally spoke, there was one thing she did not mention: the rumors. She praised Diana's dedication and compassion, but she did not touch upon the question millions were asking: is Prince Harry truly the biological son of Prince Charles? Diana's legacy thus becomes all the more bitter. She is remembered not only for her gentleness, compassion, and charitable campaigns that touched the heart of the world. She is also remembered for a life crushed by the system, by invisible rules, and by a ruthless media. Her death, instead of closing a tragic chapter, opened up a new labyrinth where every fragment of memory, every lingering question could lead back to a hazy identity: Prince Harry. Now, looking back, people still cannot stop asking if Diana were stripped alive. Would she have explained everything? Or would she too have left the public to immerse themselves in the unknown, as if to send a message that not every truth needs to be revealed? And more profoundly, were those rumors a product of her past relationships, or merely the public's way of creating legend from a life that was taken too soon? The answer perhaps still lies hidden somewhere within the cold stone walls of the royal family, in unopened files, or in the heart of a man who bears the title of prince but may have never fully known his own bloodline. And then, just when it seemed the questions about Prince Harry's lineage would forever remain unresolved amid a sea of conspiracy theories and endless speculation, the latest DNA test results emerged like a powerful blow against the rumors that had persisted for decades. With today's most advanced genetic analysis technology, experts gave an almost absolute conclusion: Prince Harry is indeed the biological son of King Charles III, with a nearly 100% accuracy rate. This news quickly spread like wildfire, extinguishing the whispers that had haunted the royal family and the global public for years. But at the same time, it opened up a new series of questions. Does this truth truly end all debate? Or is it merely a new chapter in the controversial saga of Harry's life? For Harry, the moment he held the DNA results in his hands was a shock mixed with relief. For more than 3 decades, he had grown up under an atmosphere of suspicion, as many whispered that he was the son of James Hewitt, Princess Diana's former lover. Those rumors were not just tabloid gossip, they quietly seeped into every personal moment of Harry's life, making him feel like a misplaced piece in the royal family. Now, with science confirming the truth, Harry seemed to shed an invisible burden. He could face the world with his head held high, no longer haunted by suspicious glances or articles comparing his fiery red hair to Hewitt's. This clarity allows Harry to focus more on his future, on his small family, with Meghan and their 2 children, instead of being endlessly swept into questions about royal bloodlines. Charles could not hide his satisfaction. For the king, the DNA result is not only a reaffirmation of his own honor, but also an important step toward healing long-standing fractures within the family. For years, Charles had to remain silent in the face of malicious gossip about his relationship with Harry. Though he repeatedly asserted that Harry was his biological son, no evidence was ever strong enough to completely quash the speculation. This time, with science speaking, Charles appeared freed from a decades-long burden. He sees this as an opportunity to mend his relationship with Harry, the son who had many times publicly criticized the royal family and distanced himself from its embrace. William, the older brother who has always shared a bond with Harry, though often strained, views this event through a different lens. He feels relieved that finally their brotherhood is no longer subject to baseless rumors. Although William had always regarded Harry as his real brother, the public and media kept digging into the past, complicating everything. Now that the DNA results have irrefutably proven the truth, William believes the 2 brothers can put past tensions aside and face future challenges together. In rare moments, William has even expressed a desire to reconcile with his brother, something he had previously found difficult to show due to royal pressures and never-ending speculation. For the British royal family, this is not just a DNA test result, it is a symbolic turning point. For so long, the rumors surrounding Harry's lineage had become an indelible stain on the royal family's honor. These whispers not only affected Harry, but also cast a shadow on the images of Diana, Charles, and even the future of William, the heir to the throne. Now, with science bringing clarity, the royal family has a chance to shift focus away from absurd rumors toward rebuilding public trust. They can concentrate on strengthening internal relationships instead of constantly confronting suspicious questions from the media and the public. But does this DNA result truly have the power to completely extinguish all speculation? History has shown that a confirmed truth does not necessarily mean the public will stop questioning. There are still skeptics who believe the royal family may have arranged the outcome to protect its reputation. They question the timing of the release. Why wait until now? Why wasn't this clarified years ago when the rumors first exploded? These very doubts cast a veil of skepticism over the truth, no matter how clear it seems. What's noteworthy is that this DNA result holds significance not only for the royal family, but also as a strong message to the media. For years, the press relentlessly exploited the topic of Harry's parentage, turning it into a golden goose of sensational stories. Now, with scientific proof, the tabloids are forced to step back. However, the biggest question remains, will the public accept this truth? Or will they continue to feed the conspiracy theories? Harry, in his recent statements, has shown a resolute determination to put the past behind him. He wants the story of his bloodline to end here, so he can focus on protecting his family and raising his two young children in a peaceful environment, far from the prying spotlight. The DNA results are not just a vindication for Harry, but also a shield that allows him to move forward with confidence, no longer bound by the shadows of the previous generation. Charles and William have not hidden their ambition to use this event as a catalyst to reunite the family. In private meetings, Charles has expressed hope that this will be the first step for Harry to return to the royal fold, at least in spirit. William, who was once entangled in public disputes with his younger brother, is now showing a rare softness. He believes that once all doubts about lineage are cleared, brotherhood will have a chance to heal, even though the road ahead remains full of challenges. And what about the public? A portion of the British people breathed a sigh of relief, seeing this as a final affirmation, putting an end to all the toxic rumors. But others are not ready to let go. They believe the royal story is always filled with secrets that are never fully revealed. And it is precisely that curiosity that keeps one final question echoing. Are these DNA results truly the end of all speculation, or merely the beginning of a new wave of conspiracy theories? What do you think? Are the DNA results enough to change your view of Harry, or will the rumors continue to exist as an inseparable part of the royal narrative? Leave a comment with number 1 if you believe in reconciliation, or 0 if you think the drama will go on. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the latest developments surrounding the most powerful family in Britain.